we were talking to Mac, I want to say it was last week, he was saying that Nate has been the most consistent and probably the healthiest wide receiver of the group. What's been your perspective on how Nate has been these last couple of years?
This being his second year here, I think he's very comfortable with, being around the guys, and he's taken that senior leadership role, and he's worked every day in practice. He hadn't missed a practice, and just being consistent, every day that we come out here.
What is the challenge? Everybody talks about you want to play A+ receivers.
Yep.
What's the actual challenge in actually doing that?
It's just, the thing that Coach Brown talks about all the time is just, building trust, with them, with me. Last year was, with Ted's situation that we had, for the first 4 games, it was JJ, Kobe, Gavin, and Nate. And we had 1,256 yards and 10 touchdowns with those guys. So, now Paul Billups is a year older, Chris Culliver's a year older, Christian Hamilton's a year older. So, you throw those in, and then you bring the freshmen in that we got who've been here since January. So you just try to figure out which of those guys that you can plug and place and get them to do the things that we want them to do offensively.
Building off that, injuries happen. Obviously, in the spring, you had your veteran guys out for a little bit. That aids those freshmen getting in. Who'd you see step up from the spring to now?
Jordan Shipp had a great spring. All of the guys, Paul, all the 6 guys I talked about, had great reps this spring and carried over to the fall. So, the quality of experience that they built getting here early, along with Paul, Chris, and Christian, was a big help for us, for them to get their feet wet already.
Where is Kobe Paysour in his process coming back?
Kobe practiced today. Injuries and things that happen, those are the things that, Coach Brown talks about, Jeremy talks about. But, Kobe was out here today, and that's what I expect. I expect him to be somebody that we count on very heavily.
Mac expressed optimism that Kobe would be a full go around the time camp started, but my understanding is he's kind of been in and out. Has he been able to get enough reps that you guys head to Minneapolis next week? He's going to sort of be the Kobe we've seen before?
Kobe practiced today, and that's what, we're going on.
Lonnie, talking about the trust you were mentioning earlier, who would you say, it's obviously a deep group of guys, and you have had some bumps and bruises this camp. Who would you say right now are the 3 guys you trust the most, the 4 guys you trust the most?
It's a work in progress because we're still a couple weeks away. But, JJ, Nate, Kobe, Gavin, Shipp, all of them right now. Everybody's still in play for the first, 9 weeks. We got 9 days. I think it's 9 days, 10 days before we take off. So everybody's in play. So, just continue to build the trust with them.
Ideally, how many wide receivers would you like to play?
I'd like to play 6 or 7 of them, but that comes with situations in the game. We talked about that yesterday in the meeting. From the 20 to the 20, that's where Coach likes for us to sub if we're going to sub. And then, coming out or getting down in the red zone, he wants the guys in there that, that we depend on.
You see the physical attributes in Jordan Shipp. He just kind of pops things on the field. Is he ready mentally and as far as maturity goes to be in a rotation at this level right away?
Yes. The program that he came from, and the way that he's been coached, and his IQ of football, since he's been here, he's been one that works extra, knows every position on the field to play. So, just trying to find specifically where we want to use him. But yes, to answer your question, he is mentally ready to be able to play, to help us.
What pops about him when you see him out there? What one thing just totally stands out?
Being able to get himself open, understanding the defenses, and how people are trying to play him, and his IQ is very high. He has a very high IQ, about the game of football.
And of course, have experience, having guys go to the NFL. This year it was Tez. I guess after those departures, what is the process looking like? Obviously, you talked about the guys who want to play, but what does the process look like after that of kind of establishing that number 1 guy, the number 1 receiver?
It's you just coach him up, and who's ever ready to take that role. JJ led us in receptions last year, and obviously Kobe's played a lot of ball here, and Gavin's played a lot of ball here, and Nate's played a whole lot of ball here. So, you go with those 4 pieces right there, and then, okay, who's coming from the spring to the, first couple of weeks of camp to fit into there. And if it's a freshman, it's a freshman. Coach Brown's going to make us put the best guys on the field. So, that's the one thing that none of them can say they hadn't had a chance, because we've given all a chance for camp, and now we're getting into the game prep and those type of things.
At this stage of his development, Lonnie, just on Chip, like, does he remind you of anybody that you remember from the past, just at this early stage of his career?
I don't want to compare him to anyone because he hadn't played a game yet, but, he has a lot of attributes that, from guys that I've had. Is, Stedman Bailey, was a kid that played very well for us at West Virginia and, could catch the ball. Wasn't the fastest guy, but, understand it and use his strengths to help him, play very well for us at West Virginia, and then obviously going to the Rams.
How important is it now that you guys have always had him, but with Amari and having so much respect around him and people worrying about him so much, how important is it for the wide receiver group to take some of the pressure off of him to complement the kind of game? That's very important to be able to have, guys that could, depending on how people want to play us, whether or not they load the box up and say, okay, we're going to stop the run, you got to go beat us throwing the football, and, if you add Bryson to the mix of, how we're going to use him and, Cope and how we're going to use him. So there's a lot of pieces to where if they want to try to take Amari in a way, I think, with Coach Lindsey and, the staff as far as game planning and having different things to help Amari and be able to still run the football and us be able to, throw the ball when we need to. Do you think you still have the weapons, knowing that you guys don't have guys like Josh Downs, Anton Green on the staff, that you have these weapons that can create space and take some of that pressure?
Yeah, and we hadn't had them in 2 years. So, like I said, Taz was the guy last year, and, the first 4 games, the guys that are here right now played. So,
Lonnie, we were talking to Chip earlier, and he sort of underlined Nate and Bryson Nesbitt as maybe having the best 2 camps up to the point where we talked to him. Like, what have you seen from Nate? I know you talked about him earlier, but just where has he been able to take his game in terms of, maybe the next level? Like, what have you seen out of him? What have you asked of him, too?
Just to step up and take leadership of the group, him and JJ, and, his mental capacity is very high on what he wants to do to help this team. So, Nate, coming in from, Tech 2 years ago has really got himself in a situation to where he knows he's one of the guys, and he knows he's one of our main guys in the receiver room, and he's accepted all the challenges. He works his tail off, every day.
Staying on what Adam asked, I think Chip said he's seen a lot of Minnesota Nate.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a pretty good
the
Nate
guy
to
that
see.
played against Minnesota. What is Minnesota Nate as opposed to the guy that was a little bit less consistent in some other games last year?
Minnesota Nate is here. And we've seen that for camp. Minnesota Nate is here. He had 15 catches, and I don't know how many yards he had, but, that was a good game for him. And, that's the thing that we've talked about, is just being consistent from spring ball to fall camp to now. He's been consistent, every day in his preparation and how he wants to be a key component to what we do offensively.
You mentioned Bryson earlier, and you guys used him in the slot a lot last year. Has he ever asked you to move him outside and try to get some work there, or is he mainly just in the slot at that time?
Well, if I told you that, then people could game plan us. But, no, we expect Bryson to be a huge part of what we do offensively. He's, a great target that can run and has great hands, and you can do a lot of different things with him.
Does he almost feel like half of a wide receiver for you in that room almost in a way?
He's Bryson can play everywhere except the line. So it's one of those things for us. He's a great young man, and he'll come out and do exactly what Coach Kitchen's asking him to do, and as far as game plan wise, is what Coach Lindsey asked him to do.
Is there this might sound ridiculous, Lonnie. Is there anything you do with your guys as a position group when you're catching balls from a left-handed quarterback and then a right-handed quarterback all throughout the same days of practice? Is there anything? I don't know if there's a different spin.
It spins a little different, but the thing that Coach Brown to say is catch the ball. So that is no matter where it's coming from.
We talk a lot about catching the ball, but the young guys, where are they in the blocking aspect of the position?
I mean, we're going to ask the whole group to be, better blockers for Amari. So that's one thing for me. If you want to play, you better be able to block. So, they've all bought into that situation. Amarian and the tight ends block when we push the ball down the field. So, if they want to be out there on the field, they'll block and accept that challenge.
We good?
You want to tell us who the quarterback's going to be?
Jeremy and Coach Brown can answer that question for you better than I can.
Thanks, Coach.
No quarterback talk and no injury talk.
Thanks.
Planning the defense.
It all time from wide receiver.